All right, welcome back to the third section. We'll be talking about sight alignment and sight picture. So sight alignment, what is sight alignment? So sight alignment is basically when you start getting the sights aligned to each other and marriage to each other. So what we want to look for is equal height and equal light here. So we want to make sure the front sight is just as high and level with the rear sight. We also want to make sure the front sight is paired up with the middle section between the little windows between the rear sights, as you can kind of see there. I painted it gray for training purposes to be able to see that top. We want to make sure it's equal height, and then there's equal light in between each of the sections here between the front sight and these rear sight notches. We want to make sure they're lined up, and typically that works with our grip that we talked about in the first section when we start presenting. Think about if I was pointing at this white target here. All right, I point at it naturally. My finger goes naturally where I want it to go. If I wanted to point at one of the previous holes here, I can point at it almost directly of where I want it to go. Right? Same thing when we're talking about sights. When we have our proper grip, it's the same thing. Our sights will come right to where we're looking at already. And this will cater into our other online program when we talk about advanced shooting techniques and defensive shooting techniques. So again, coming out, sight alignment is getting the sights aligned to each other with equal height and equal light in between each other. When we start shooting at targets, let's say I wanted to shoot good old target here, good old Bob, in the head, and this box right here. In order for me to do so, what I would need to do is, with my front sight, essentially cut the target in half of where I want to shoot. Imagine the bullet on that front sight. Wherever this front sight cuts is basically the center of that round, if that makes sense. So if you think of the round, that front sight cuts that round in half, and that's where the round's going to go. So wherever I'm shooting, I want to cut my targets in half so that I can hit exactly where I want to go. So again, go and practice the sight alignment. For sight picture, right? Moving on to sight picture, that is the relationship between the front and rear sight and your target. When we're looking at sight picture and we aim at our target, the sight picture needs to be kind of what I just talked about cutting your target in half. But another thing that you need to think about is making sure your front sight is the most focused image. If we're using a gun for self-protection, I'm going to see my bad guy first before I draw my gun. So, whoa, bad guy, present out, front sight, front sight, front sight, front sight, front sight, front sight, cut the target in half, take my shots. Your sight picture is the relationship between your front rear sight being lined up and presented at the target, being lined up and transposed over that target. So again, cutting it in half will allow you to get that proper sight picture, and then if you have proper sight alignment, that round's going to go straight where you want it to. So remember, focus on your front sight, aim at whatever you want to look at, whatever you want to look at, and then cut that target in half with your front sight and search for it as you're coming out and getting that proper grip. All right, so practice that. You can do it with a SIRT pistol if you have one at home. You can do one with your regular firearm. Just make sure there's no live rounds loaded nearby or no live rounds anywhere nearby, and make sure you're pointing your muzzle in a safe direction. And I will see you guys in the next module.